Welcome to the Mischief Maker broadcast, where chaos, creativity, and common sense collide. Your host, Joel Freeman, was kicked out of high school in Alberta, Canada. He left home at 17 and hitchhiked around North America as a long-haired hippie and dope-smoking fool. He made a 180-degree change, becoming one of the first chaplains in the history of the NBA. As a professional speaker, Joel has traveled to well over 55 countries. His many books have been published in 28 foreign translations. Pieces from his Black History collection have been seen by millions at the United Nations and many other venues. And now, the Chief Mischief Maker himself, Dr. Joel A. Freeman.
Hi, Baby Joel here. Guess what? My mother brought me to the backyard to walk through our garden. I got so excited that I wet my plants.
Well, there we are. Baby Joel strikes again. Hey, we've got a great show. Don't change the dial or whatever you would want to change normally. We have someone on the show this evening. His name is Bob Cutarella. He's known, when his mother was around, she would say Robert Cutarella, but now he's known as Bob. And throughout this show, if you're watching live, one of the benefits is that you can see the QR code above, and that'll kind of give you some information about the show. What is a mischief maker? The whole definition is there at chiefmischiefmaker.com. But also, you can write in your questions. And if they are germane to our topic, and we have Mel in the background, he will determine if it's germane or not. And then we'll put it on and we'll field it if there's time. So Bob Cutarella, by the way, he is, and I've written this down so I wouldn't forget any part of this, but he's a music producer. He's a writer, publisher, manager, educator, and author. He has worked with Paul McCartney, Chaka Khan, Michael Jackson, Sheena Easton, Melissa Manchester, Whitney Houston, Diana Ross, Dolly Parton, The Police, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Les Paul, Elton John, Linda Ronstadt, and Frank Sinatra, and many others that just it could go on. So he's our guest tonight on the Mischief Maker Show. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to have a conversation with him. We're going to discuss his background. We're going to talk about what are the elements of a great song in terms of songwriting and producing the music, the repetition, the predictability with a twist, the singability, the rhythmic and syllables, the clarity of it all. And he's going to break this down for us. And actually what we're going to do is sometime this evening, this show, one of my songs we're going to play in just a few moments. He's going to break it down, and he's going to be blunt. He might even be brutal. Now, he's not brutal, but he'll tell me exactly what he's thinking about the song that we're going to play in just a few moments. It's called In Praise of Limping. And Mel, let's play the song right now, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Jacob was a fighter, but he fought to deceive. A man of ambition with tricks up his sleeve. He stole Esau's birthright, played the game of control. Jake's life was broke and God reached for his soul. By the river they wrestled till dawn's early light. Left with a limp, somehow got it right. Get the big head fall, mark of surrendering all. Saw the man chasing dreams that he had designed, built his kingdom, left meekness behind. The walls came down and his plans fell apart. He lost what he built, but then he got smart. As the years clicked by, he had a scar to remind that God does his best work when pride has died. Get the big head fall, flat on your face, walk with a limp, it's the mark of God's grace. Think you're a big deal, you're just starting to fall, but a limp is the mark of surrendering all. She was a woman who carried the weight of loss and betrayal, a cruel twist of fate. Her dreams were shattered, her heart torn in two, but in her surrender, God made her brand new. She now limps with a purpose on earthbound streets. Her once empty canvas is a masterpiece. The world says the strong are the ones who will rise, but God lifts the lowly, confounds the wise. It's upside down, who gets the prize? The broken rise up where pride is despised. He chooses the broken, the weary, the small, to show that his strength is above it all. So if you're limping today, don't be ashamed. It's a sign that God's love has rewritten your name. Remember this when life takes its toll. A bad day for your ego is a good day for your soul.
For your ego is a good day for your soul. That's the last words in the lyrics of that song. Bob, welcome to
thank you there.
The
Thank you
Mischef Maker Show. Are you a Mischef Maker? I think you are.
I think we had the same mother, because you mentioned something about watering the plants in the backyard there. I'm sure I've done that many times. As Italians, we always have plants, and we certainly how to water the plants.
Hey, Bob, what was your earliest memory of music, and how did it shape your path? And what were the artists and the genres that first lit the spark inside of you?
You know, when I grew up with music, well, first of all, I guess as a child, you know, we went up to Forest Park when we moved to Queens from Brooklyn, and they had the oompa bands, you know, all those. So I heard that music. That wasn't that thrilling, but and my father and mom always listened to Mahalia Jackson on Sundays. My mom loved Mahalia Jackson, and she loved Della Reese. Mm-hmm. My father loved Glenn Campbell, and he loved Sinatra and Jimmy Roselli. And I mean, I was fascinated by it, but my earliest recollection of when I really started to really listen to music was I got a transistor radio, mm-hmm. which was mono. So it was one headphone in there. And, you know, it was Rockin' Robin and all of the doo-wop stuff, you know, as we stroll along together. You know, it was all that. It was, you know, so that was great. And that really started getting me into music. And then my father saw that I was into it. My mom saw that I was into it. They got me an accordion.
Wow.
Right? Well, Italians, you know.
Did you take lessons? I took 4 years of lessons with accordion, the squeeze box.
I wish I had really done that. But what I did instead, because I'm always a comedian, you know, they always look to me for the joke. Mm-hmm. My accordion teacher had a wig, and it used to juggle around on his head. And so I used to drop my sheet music just to see it fall off his head. So that was what I used to do. And then finally, I had to come up with a reason why I didn't want to study the accordion. So I said, well, I was going to be a pope at some point. I said, I really want to go into the clergy, and there's not many accordion playing popes that I know of. So I had to quit playing the accordion. So instead, I dipped into music. You know,
we could have switched to polka, you know, and you could have been.
I could have, but the improv bands weren't doing it for me. They weren't. But the doo-wop bands were another story. And then at 9, what really got me, I was always this little hunched over kid, little chubby, played sports a lot, loved sports, but I loved to sit in front of the TV and watch Dick Clark, you know, and try to imitate all the people. And in my neighborhood, we had Brian Hyland, who had that itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow boat. Yeah. We had him, and then we had J and the Americans. Mm-hmm. So I saw that you could kind of be a little celebrity, you know, and then in the neighborhood there. And so my father takes me with a friend of mine to the Metropole in New York to see Gene Krupa. And my friend's father was a cop, so that's how we got in. And he sits me right next to Gene Krupa. That was it. That was my future right in front of my eyes. There he is, cool as a cucumber, dressed up, hair slick. The women were going crazy. The crowd was going crazy. And he was as primal as you can get. And I just looked at that and I went, that looks pretty good, you know, until the Beatles came around. But I used to listen to all the, you know, a lot of different kind of music because of my parents. And then I started bands when I was young. Mm-hmm. I started banging on boxes. That drove people crazy in the neighborhood. So then I got drum. That was even worse for them. But worse for my father because he worked at night, slept during the day. Oh, my. When I came home, you know, he'd run down in his underwear. And I had a band, and he comes down in his underwear, and they're like, what? It was, you know, music chooses you. You don't choose music. I've convinced it's just like dancers, beautiful poetry of dance, or all writers, you know, any creative kind of outlet like that. It's in your soul. I don't think you're new on this earth. I don't know how that happens, but it just feels old, and it feels like it enters you, and it's familiar. It's always been there. Somehow it's always been there, but you never maybe explored it to that depth, or you felt it that deeply. I don't know. Really don't know.
What was your first gig in the music industry? Was it cleaning toilets or?
First gig, major gig?
Yeah.
Oh, first major gig.
Thank everyone who's making comments. We appreciate it, Robert, and everyone else. Go ahead.
Chappell Music was part of Polygram, and I'd been playing drums for bands. Actually, played drums for Mafia band for a couple of years. That was a whole nother story, but I wanted out of that as quickly as possible. And I was up for jobs at 3 publishers. I was up for a job at April Blackwood, which was Columbia Records. I was up for a job at Chappell Music, which was part of Polygram. And that's 1978. And I was up for a job with Billy Joel, and he had just released The Stranger.
Oh, wow.
And so I got offered the other 2 jobs, basically. I think, I don't even know, because when I went to Chappell, they had hired somebody else that day. But my boss said to me, this is really awkward. He said, but everybody said I should meet you. But he said, but I just hired this guy, Casey Del Casino. And he said, so I don't know what we're doing here. So he played me 6 or 8 songs on a cassette. And he said to me, who would you match the song up with? Huh. And I guessed all 8 of them. I guessed that the person that had just recorded all 8 of them. So for me,
you had a good ear, and you're batting 1,000 on that.
Well, that's what I was, you know, I mean, that was like, it was called the Clive Davis litmus test, you know, and Clive, after that called on me many times for songs, because I had that ear and we had a great network. But Chappell Music was an amazing place to work. The people were amazing, and the writers, and the learning experience. I thank God every single day that it went that way, and not me being stuck playing drums for the Mafia guys.
Now, what challenges early on nearly pushed you out of the music industry, and what made you stay?
Well, there's some personal challenges, one, born in Brooklyn, grew up with a very middle-class family, hard workers, everybody just hard workers, but education was everything for them. And I was an English teacher, and I was getting married, and she was an English teacher. So we kind of mapped that all out, but I was playing music all the time on weekends. I had bands all over the place playing, making money that way. And the biggest challenge was proving to my ex-wife or my parents that I was capable of transferring, a career from English teaching to, a music career. And in the beginning, all you're doing is playing drums 2 days a week and all. But I was making more money doing that than I was teaching. I just didn't have 2 months off in the summer. And I loved what I was doing so much. And before that, I made myself physically sick all the time because I was doing something I really didn't want to do. And that my advice to anybody who gets into this business or any business, do something you love.
Yes.
God gives you skill sets and gifts. Do something you love, because if you go home miserable and you're married, you're going to end up divorced like me. You need to be, first of all, if you're given this gift, it's a good thing that you can share your gift with somebody. And, like after all these years, I try to pay it forward. I have a book coming out called Mentor, and it's all about mentoring and people that mentored me. And it for me, the biggest challenge was, there's the book. Okay, there we go. Coming out in November on Casa Carlini. Interesting little publishing house. But the thing is that the challenges you face are, not working enough. Are you good enough? Here you are, you're sacrificing. You're going to end up divorced, number one, because you're not home, because you're learning the business. We didn't have any internet or anything to learn the business. So Record World, Cashbox, and Billboard every Sunday night came out. And I just immersed myself in it to the point where I didn't even remember anything I taught in English. I remember none of the books. My friends go, "Do you remember that book? Jack London's Into the Wild." Going, no, I don't remember it. I taught it, but I don't remember it. So challenges like that. And I'll tell you the biggest challenge before I got my job. Biggest challenge. We would play jobs. I had a duo, and we would play jobs, and we'd have to drive 3 hours at night to go do this job. They'd pay us $40, and sometimes there'd be nobody there, and the owner of the club didn't have the money. Wow. He'd give us $9. We'd have enough gas money or some money to eat something. Going home, our ex-wives would, our wives would be like, "Where's the $40? Where's the contribution?" Rent wasn't much; it was $100 a month, so it wasn't like you.
And gas was what, 11, 12 cents a gallon or something like that.
Nothing.
20,
12. But it was still, 3-hour drive is 3 hour drive, 180 miles. So you're doing those gigs, and they're thankless. You're pouring your heart out because you're trying so hard to prove to yourself and to your parents and I'm an only child. So proving to my parents, my father was cool because he loved music and he sang. My mom, the hardest time. Even when I won my Grammy, she just didn't connect with it at all. And, I had really worked my tail off, and you always want to impress your parents. You want their love, you want their approval, and if I was a parent, I would want, I'd want to be proud of so you want them to be proud of you, and so in the beginning, I'm sleeping on floors. I'm sleeping on my aunt's floor. She's got a 1-bedroom. I'm sleeping in a car. It's recording studios. It's not like anybody hands you anything and says, "Here's the magic wand. You got talent." A lot of talented people out there. So now you're in competition. And the other part is, if you grew up like I did, when I got into the corporate world, people were smart. They were smart. They were reading the New York Times. They were talking about things that my parents discussed, horse racing, betting, gambling. They didn't talk about it. And my father was very bright too. He was a guy that was well read. He loved history and all, but it never got discussed. Those things didn't get discussed, you know.
Well, Bob, Cole Sanders, we're going to come to your question maybe after the break.
That's a good question.
It is a very good question.
Yeah.
But what I want to do right now is take a look at the song, because I want to introduce folks who are watching this either live or in podcast format, that you do one-on-ones with musicians, writers. And I want to kind of have a test case here where you take a look at the song that I played earlier, in praise of limping, and break it down, slice it and dice it, and just handle it in the way you would if anybody came to you and said, "Hey, what do you think of this song? What are the odds of this? And what wisdom would you give to someone such as myself?"
Okay, you're the host, I have to be kind in my.
No, come right at it. Come as if we're.
No, I am.
You and I are talking.
I'm not brutal. I'm just, I only heard the song once, so I'm going to be I'm going to be me, and this is what I do. First question I would ask: are you the artist? Obviously, there's a female singing it.
No,
but are you going to be an artist? Is this going to be one of your songs?
I cannot carry a tune in a bucket. I'm just a writer.
Okay, so
and a producer. I put things together.
Okay, just a writer. Well, first of all, sonically it sounds great. When it starts off, for me, I thought it would be like a John Mayer-ish song, or Bonnie Raitt type of song, because it's a blues song and you can feel the blues, and the instrumentation and everything was great, but sonically it sounded really good. Okay, now if you're not aware of the whole story of Jacob and I don't know how to pronounce Esau, right? That in some instances that doesn't make a difference, because if you're telling the story and just the story, it could be Joe and Frank and this one and that one. So so it's not just biblical references in this particular instance. So that part of it, and I say this because Sting has a song with the Police called "Wrapped Around Your Finger." And the opening lines are, "You consider me the young apprentice caught between the Scylla and Charybdis." If you don't know what the Scylla and Charybdis is, doesn't mean you're not going to know the song. They sound good coming off the tongue. And a lot of people, and he develops the story, and the story is very clear. Young apprentice, just, it has a twist at the end, which I love. So words come off your tongue a certain way. A singer and a writer should be aware of how those words come off a vocalist's tongue if somebody's going to interpret the song. So I always look at that with a writer and say, okay, does this sound good coming off the tongue? And in your case, it does. So, melodically, the first verse sets up a good, blues verse, blues melody. It's not, in my estimation, a melody that's off the charts crazy. It's just solid melody. I can hold on to that. It's verbose because you're telling a story. All right. Can you get to the story more quickly, less words, a little more breath? As a listener, when you're listening to something the first time, it's hard to hold on to a lot. There's a lot here. This is a book. This is a mini book. So am I going to remember all that? What's going to happen is I'm going to remember the hook, most likely, if the hook is leading me, in melodically. The verse, I'll remember that in terms of the melody. But, can you tighten it up? I don't know. I haven't seen it enough. I'm not the quick study that way. I'm a person who has to look and look and look. So when you get to the hook, I thought melodically you could have been a bigger rise getting to the hook. Maybe a little surprise too. Since the verse was something that I was kind of familiar feeling about it. When you've played in bands and you've listened and played a lot of songs, sometimes you almost know what's coming.
Mhm.
And you love when somebody surprises the daylights out of you. You're just sitting there and go,
Mhm.
oh, I love that. Steely Dan does it. Few people do it here and there. And when they do, you're just like, that's so cool. I love when that happens.
So the horns
So
were in the first hook. Should they have been in the second hook instead?
no.
Okay.
It's not the horns that make the surprise for me.
Okay.
You still got a lot of words over there, but I can get with that. Words, if you use a word a lot. Now the word limp, I know why you're using it. You hammered that home. Left with a limp, whatchamacall, walk with a limp, but a limp, limp is a unique word,
Mhm.
right? If there was a way to not use it as often, characterize the song the same way, you can hammer it home the same way, but maybe not use a word that's unique
Mhm.
as often, because then it stands out. But the
Gotcha.
minute you overuse it,
Huh.
it no longer stands out, So I'm a big fan. Unfortunately, I write as well, and a lot of times I'm guilty. I write the whole story, and then I have to figure out how to edit it. How am I going to edit it down? And partially because I want the listener to be able to sing it. I
Mhm.
want the listener to be able to sit and hold on to it. I love the story. And you can argue with me. Well, listen to Hallelujah. He's got 20 verses.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard he wrote 100 verses. I'm like, are you kidding me? How can you come up with 100 unique verses like him? That's insanity. That's a
Yeah.
year's work,
Mm.
I mean, just the images are just through the roof. Every line, oh my God. But I like this. And get the big head fall. Now, fall you only use twice in the hook. Okay. So I say, yeah, great. We got something good here, right? Second verse builds the story up more. And that's good from a production and a producer standpoint. Like me, I would have added harmonies. I might have added a different part to add a rhythmic element in the second verse that's different.
Mhm.
Sometimes I tend to, a bluesy kind of song, I'll tend to add a clavinet or a keyboard or an organ or something to build it a little bit. But this is an interesting point that I'm going to bring that I'd like to share with people. You hear hit records a lot on the radio. You hear these songs that are amazing, sound great.
Mhm.
Most people don't know that a lot of times, the big producers get big budgets. And they can sit. And today, you have a lot of people just working out of their home, or they have no budget when they're working with a producer. So, they'll say, okay, I got 10 hours to make this song.
Mhm.
10 hours is nothing.
Oh yeah.
It's nothing. And I've been working with people who have no budgets, and I'm trying to do something in 10 hours that I normally spend 40 hours a song minimum. A friend of mine yesterday was playing me something. He said, you could have done this with this song, or you could have done that. And I said, yeah, I know. I could have had a real budget too. I said, but I didn't. Excuse me. So you make it the best you can up to a point, right?
Mhm.
I don't know what your budget constraints are or anything. So me, I would have spent the time, add a little bit something different. Different in the second verse. Second chorus is there. I like the repetition of the chorus being the same as the first because I need to hold on to that.
Mhm.
All right. So I think that was good. And I like that all of it's the same.
Mhm.
Now the bridge. The bridge melodically wasn't as different.
Mhm.
It just wasn't as different. And can you say in those 6 lines in your bridge, can you say them in 2 lines so that
Mhm.
now I feel, like a great boxer or somebody to hit, and then they back off.
Mhm.
Hit, back off. I need a dynamic.
Gotcha.
I want to feel a dynamic.
Mhm.
And so can you say that? And then again, you're using limp in there. So now limp's with a purpose on Earthbound Streets. I love her Once Empty Canvas is a masterpiece. I love that. A beautiful line. Shattered, torn. We've heard that before, And you're telling a story that I happen to be aware of what the story is. So it's a little different. If I didn't know what the story is, could you sum it up?
Mhm.
And then what is the last verse? Is the last verse like a first verse, second verse? Sometimes enough has been said, you know? And then the third hook goes off and it's not the hook again. And I've gone through a bridge, another verse, and a hook. And could it be that you use the first three lines and then the last line pays off differently? Can you make the payoff be the last line and that way, or just switch it up a little bit? Like example, and I always use Wrapped Around Your Finger as an example. Through the whole thing is, I've only come here seeking knowledge, things they wouldn't teach me all in college. I can see that, destiny is sold, staring at that shiny band of gold. So he's basically having an affair with a married woman who's unhappy, right? And then every chorus is, I'll be wrapped around your finger, I'll be wrapped around your finger. The bridge is, trouble on a deep blue sea behind me, vanish in the haze, you'll never find me. I will turn your face to alabaster when you find your servant is your master. Oh, that's like, boom. That just smacks you in the head. It's like, wow, where did that come from? That is so awesome, and so I see a comment about Dylan and Springsteen. Yeah, of course. But I should remind you, as you're saying, Joel, this song, you wrote because you just have to write. So now what are you going to do? You don't want to change a Springsteen song. You don't want to change a Dylan song. I get it. Believe me, I get it. I get frustrated in the fact that you're not seeing many of those guys today. I thought when Ed Sheeran came out with A-Team, I thought, oh, he was different. He's telling a story based on a true story after a visit he made to a clinic or someplace, where people were rehabbing. And he spoke to some girl and told the real story. Yeah, I mean, sure. Are you the artist doing this interpretation, or is this, going to be pitched to people? That's why I ask those questions. I'm not one. I edit stuff down all the time because people look to me for, oh, you're a pop guy. You're going to make pop hits and stuff like that. Actually, I just like to see people write great songs.
Yes. Yeah.
Period. So, I'm commenting more on melody and structural things and what keeps me involved in it. You did such a good job on the production, and the singer was really good vocalist and all that stuff, that I stayed in it. I would have stayed in and listened to the end anyway. So, and that's kudos for the production and all that stuff. That's how, I try to break it down. Somebody's an artist and they tell me they write a 5-minute song. Yeah, I'm all with you. If you're telling the story and this is the story you want to tell, I don't want to be the editor of what you want to tell. Yeah. So if you personally, Joel, told the story you wanted to tell in here, fine. I'm just one person commenting.
I think it's brilliant. We got to take a break for our sponsor, but man, I took this is how many notes I took.
That's another song. That's a different song.
So this has been wonderful, and I'm hopeful that people who are watching this maybe can get some tips out of, vicariously through you sharing that about my song. And so that's why I set it up in this way. Thank you very much. We're going to take a break right now. And it's our sponsor, Rosetta Universe. Mel, let's play. I think we got Conti, I think is commenting about it. Let's go.
I lost my eye in an explosion, but that never stopped me from ballooning and inventing the modern pencil. I helped solve many problems during my time in Egypt. Helped the Rosetta Stone Traveling Exhibit Project transform an ancient artifact, the Rosetta Stone, into a modern metaphor for problem solving. You will love it.
So that's Nicholas Conti saying, get involved in the Rosetta Universe. This is tells you a little bit about it, but basically, if you go to the QR code above, And it's the first on the link tree, the Rosetta Universe. And basically what we're doing is Rosetta Universe is taking the ancient artifact, the Rosetta Stone, transforming it into a modern metaphor for problem solving. And it's huge. Smokey Robinson's on our advisory board, Kathy Hughes, Ben Carson, just a host of people. And what we're doing is, I think, pretty exciting. So take a look at it, rosettauniverse.com. And I hope you enjoy what you see. And by the way, if you have any comments, any ideas, any connections, any advice, 2 ears, 1 mouth, I'm listening and learning. And I want to learn from you wherever you are in the world watching this at this time. Bob, let's come back to you. And
wait, the pencil.
Yeah, he invented the pencil.
So wild.
Ballooning. I mean, the guy was, he was part of the Napoleonic Egyptian military campaign. One of the 167 savants that Napoleon brought over to take over Egypt, and which they failed militarily, but it was an incredible benefit in terms of archaeology, architecture, entomology, all these different disciplines that were represented. They time-stamped, a lot would have been lost, but they time-stamped a lot of information that has helped to sponsor the soft science of Egyptology and archaeology. It's fascinating.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And of course, the Rosetta Stone came out of that. That was the major.
Yeah.
So, Bob, you took a look at this. Share a little bit about what you would do. You're open to people calling you and contacting you. By the way, people can come through there when they see your face. Smash his face, and he'll take it to, and he'll love it. He'll take you to his website, and then you'll have his contact information if you want to have a one-on-one with Bob.
That's different. Smash his face. Too much boxing background.
He will love it. He'll love it.
Boxing background, a Jack Johnson thing,
Yeah, that's right. Now you've worked with many legendary artists. What qualities do you look for in a collaboration with an artist?
In my case, I could the best one I can quote and point to is Les Paul. Les Paul invented the electric guitar. Les Paul actually invented a synthesizer like Robert Moog, but before Moog, but he never got it out there. He invented reverb. He invented multi-track recording. And I used to go see him perform at Fat Tuesdays. And then when he went from Fat Tuesdays, he went over to the Iridium. And I used to go see him perform. And I used to think to myself, most young guitarists, not people who play a Les Paul, but young guitarists coming out and young people, they look at him as the headstock of a guitar.
That's right.
There was a great commercial, TV commercial about a beer, where he walks in and there's a guy playing the guitar, and the guy goes, and Les goes, "You're pretty good. You're pretty good there." He says, "Why?" He says, "You play?" He says, "I've been known to a little bit, right?" And he gets up, and there's Les going, and the guy goes, "Wow, you're good." He says, "What's your name?" He says, "It's on the top of your guitar." Fantastic. It was a great commercial because for a lot of people didn't know. It took me 10 years to convince Les. I used to go with my friend Barry, and Barry and I won Grammys together with that, and along with my friend Fran Cathcart. 10 years of convincing him to make a record because he had been in a serious car accident and all.
Oh my.
What was I looking for? In one way, I was looking to honor him, obviously, with a bunch of younger people or just guitarists who just loved Les. Because you go to Les's house at night, and there's a phone call from McCartney, there's a phone call from Eddie Van Halen, there's one from Jimmy Page. It was endless. It was really endless. And he'd be saying, "Well, for Christ's sakes, of course you're doing it all wrong. Why don't you try this on the 5th fret?" And then, and you're listening to this and you're going, this is a piece of history here. So finally I got to make that record with the blessing of Phil Cutarella, who's deceased now, but he was the head of Capitol at the time, the marketing department. And Phil and I we were always close friends, but we became business partners. That's why I moved to Los Angeles. He just got it. Phil got it right away. And, what you look for in a new young artist is difference, soulfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Are they approaching it in a different way? Are they eager? They really want it. I mean, I wanted it. I could taste it. I didn't know what I wanted because I was a drummer. So, what am I going to be, the best drummer in the world? No, not really. After I listened to Vinnie Colaiuta and Ginger Baker and this one and that one, Steve Gadd, I put my drums in the closet and said, okay, I got to do something else. I did. And Steve Gadd once said to me, you're an idiot. And I said, why? He says, you put your drums in the closet, and somebody just asking a question, if I had worked with somebody.
Yeah, was there any artist that you would have worked with? You looked at their song and it was perfect. There's nothing you could add?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, there's a bunch of them, I've worked with young artists as a young kid named Tanksley. I wouldn't have had anything to what he's done. Some of his songs, they were just amazing. Just, yeah, it happens. It's torturous when a vocalist does an amazing take and that the first take is the take, and then they go, okay, I'm just warming up. Multiple takes. But I'm trying to think of off the top of my head what artists that I have worked with that I looked at the song and it was perfect. Nothing you could add. There was this kid, Kenny Cummings, but he didn't become an artist as much as a songwriter, really successful songwriter. So that's a good, you asked that question. Somebody else asked the question too about pairing songs. How long did it take to pair a song with an artist for me, or what was the first success? I really have to think about that one. That one I'd have to get back to you on. Because I've worked with young artists a lot, but I've worked with a lot of established artists. And the Les Paul thing put me in a different league because then I'm working with Slash and Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton and people like that. That I wasn't.
That's the golden ticket.
I wasn't working with them before. And now all of a sudden, if I can hold my own there, I'm holding my own.
Yeah. Can you share a story about a studio session that completely surprised you?
Studio session that surprised me. I know it was a studio session that surprised me in a weird way. With Jeff Beck, Cyndi Lauper, and Jeff's band, Pino Palladino at the time, and Vinnie Colaiuta, and what's his name? Piano player. Lieber, Jed Lieber. That was a beautiful session we were doing. It was very late at night. Everything was fine. But I was told that if Jeff, and we had a great session all day long. So we've been working all day. Everything was fantastic, It this one had a happy ending, but it almost went south because I was told that if Jeff saw anything that was upsetting to him, he would say, let's go have tea. And then that would be the end of it. Right? Session over. And it's just 3 a.m. now at this point, and we're still having fun. We're having a great time. I'm having the time of my life, just because it's Jeff Beck and he's letting me produce him and whatever. So I'm really having a good time. Cyndi came in late. It was spur of the moment. She was so kind. She's somebody I know for many years. I knew her from my neighborhood, but I really knew her when I tried to sign her publishing when I was at Chappell Music. And this particular session, I could tell you the other session. Yes, I remember the one I'm thinking of. But this particular session, she came in, it was late at night, and Cindy's a very curious person, so she's playing around with knobs and this and that, and she does a take, and for whatever the reason, the way Vinny was playing didn't resonate with her, So she got out of her vocal and went back to him to talk to him, and we saw what we thought was going to be the beginning of the end. Because all we heard was, you're a singer, right? And he's going, of course. He says, well, why don't you just get back in there and sing and let me play? That's all we heard in that session. He came back in, and it was an incredible take. It was really beautiful. And then the record still hasn't come out because Jeff's manager wanted to put it on Jeff's record. Cindy's manager wanted to put it on Cindy's
my
record.
Goodness.
And now all this time has passed, and we still have it. We still have the master, and I'm hoping to get that out at some point. But just because Cindy's such an incredible performer, and she's so heartfelt that she can make you cry at the drop of a hat. Well, people don't know her from the rock days, but she used to sing a song called "I Want to Be Strong," and she would have her fists clenched so tight, her body would be shaking when she sang it, and you just sit there and tears would be rolling down your face. It was just that powerful, and that's how powerful she is. She is that dynamic, you know. Somebody's saying, is it better technical rock guitarist than Slash? Slash and I just got along. We get along really well. But the session you're talking about, if you want me to tell you about that session.
Yes, please.
So I was managing Stevie Wonder's ex-wife, Sarita. Okay. Sarita was an amazing voice, amazing talent. And one day she called me up and she said, you have to come to this session. Quincy Jones is producing the session, and there's all the greatest singers are going to be at this session. And it's like a We Are the World for religious purposes, you know, and it was Nancy Wilson's. She was the artist. The head of the record label was Dr. George Butler on Columbia Records. George is a dear friend of mine. And so George, I called him up and I said, you know, Nancy's got this track they're doing today. And he says, I know Quincy's on it. He says, well, I'm going to the session. I'll call you after the session, tell you how it sounds. So he said, great. It was a Sunday. Remember that. And it was a hot day in LA. I was living in New York, but I flew in just for this. I go to the session. I walk through the door, and there's a who's who in the vocal room of vocalists. Sheena, Little Anthony and Imperials, Nia Peebles, Howard Hewitt, Denise Williams, Natalie Cole. I mean, the list was endless. It's just I'm walking in looking at this, and then there's Andre Crouch and Sandra Crouch directing it, and it turned into this amazing. I was taking pictures, and they were singing, and they said, "Come." There was this choir of like angels singing this thing.
Wow!
And I was singing, and Sarita says, "Just come in and sing with us." You know, what's the difference? You know, what's the difference? And I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm in. Saida Garrett, this one. Everybody was in there. And so I was in there, and then as a gift at the end of the session, they gave me everybody signed the paper.
Oh, that's very cool.
The gift, which was for no reason, but it was just a beautiful experience. It was it opened your eyes to, you know, the beauty of music, of people coming together, that community. When I do my songwriting workshops and stuff like that, and I've done for 17 years at the Hall of Fame, it was community. Same people come week after week after week. All of a sudden, I'm the best man at a wedding. They're my best friends. We go out. We're playing baseball together. We're having dinners. I try to create community because community is important. People need to feel like they're part of a community. Like I want to be the Tony Robbins for songwriters. I want to create a community that just keeps pouring out great songs and great songwriters and just lifting and lifting and lifting people. That's what it's about. It's about lifting that energy, lifting that vibration, and just creating the best thing you can. You know?
What's one hard truth about the industry, the music industry, entertainment industry, that you would like every young person, up and coming person to know?
You should be aware of your competition out there, but you should never back down from it. Give yourself every opportunity by informing yourself as best as you can on everything that's out there, but be true to who you are, because the minute everybody tries to, there's a girl, Pia Toscano, I was shopping her tape when she was young. She ended up on American Idol. Then they tried to turn her. She didn't make the finals, but she was that good. She was like a Celine Dion. They tried to turn her into a hip hop or a Jennifer Lopez. That wasn't who she was. You know what? It's 15 years later, and she's doing exactly what she was doing in the beginning, but now she's doing it with David Foster. She's doing it with Bocelli. An ostrich is an ostrich, whether you like the way it looks or not. So the hard truth is you got to search. You got to search inside of you. Who am I? And at different times, you're different people. We just changed. That's who we are. That's the constant. But our industry, I think the right people recognize truth and honesty in an artist, in a song. I'd like to think that. I'd like to believe that still exists, and not everything is just TikTok.
Yeah. How do you see the role of AI and digital technology, streaming, changing the role of a producer?
Well, everybody has jumped in the ball game now. This is something that's troubling to me, but we're working on it. And I have a meeting tomorrow about that. We're working on it because you can't stop technology. That's out of the gate. That's already gone. That horse is already on the track and running around, right? But what you can do is find a way to utilize it so that everybody wins. It's never good when one person wins and others don't. What happens with AI is, on Suno and all those other platforms where you can create a song in 5 minutes. Now, all of a sudden, you're taking other people's work. Basically, you're stealing other people's work. You're scraping here, you're scraping there, scraping here, using other people's work that hundreds of hours and millions of dollars have gone into to do, and you're just putting an algorithm together, and all of a sudden you got a piece of music. And a lot of people who are not that discerning, or as it's getting better and they're honing in on it and it's becoming a better technology, the music is not so bad for certain applications, and it's putting people out of work left and right. Yeah. They're doing it in photography, they're doing it in film, they're doing it with writers. It's all over the place, But you can use it to your advantage. You can.
How?
I'll give you an example. I've been creating courses on the history of the music industry. Now, that's not songs. So that's, that's word. But I'll ask AI, what platforms existed during what years were it, and it's a quicker way to get to the information. But then I got to give it my spin. In order for it to ring true, I have to
give it your voice. Yeah.
So it's a good platform to get information from. I don't like what it does for music. I don't feel good about that at all. But again, I can't stop it. But we are trying to figure it out so that where the creators get a pool of money, and it just gets divided up to all the creators, the original creators, and then the percentage goes to the new creation, and it's its own separate copyright. And that, that would be, I think, more amenable and more agreeable to a majority of people, because right now they're just frustrated. And a lot of people are fighting it, Songwriters Guild, this one, that one. People are fighting it. But again, technology is something we can't stop, So
we got about 6 minutes left. What advice would you give about ownership of music and contracts and things like that? I'm sure you've seen a lot of people get ripped off.
I got ripped off millions. I mean, honestly, I got ripped off of millions because I didn't know what I was doing. And the first thing I did was, I call it my initiation into the business, was we gave away the publishing and the rights to a song that ended up on a TV commercial.
Wow.
I didn't know. We didn't know. We didn't have anybody. We had to sign it under duress a little bit and all that stuff, but it didn't make any difference. Initiation, we got in. My advice is always load yourself up with as much information as you can. Don't go out there, if you see a contract, YouTube today tells you everything you need to know. You don't even have to go run to a lawyer. I say get a lawyer, music lawyer, not a regular lawyer. Music attorney, entertainment attorney. If you need them to look at documents, very important. And give yourself power. Always think of empowering yourself. A therapist taught me this lesson. I was late for therapy when I was getting divorced. I was late all the time. He looked at me and he goes, "Do you like being late?" He said, "You only live 2 blocks away." So I said, "No, and I started laughing. He said, "What are you laughing about? You're paying for this." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Think about this. When you're going into a meeting, if you want to empower yourself, you go in, you show up on time, and now you're equal to the person you're going in with. What do you say if you're late? I'm sorry. You walk in the door, you're at a disadvantage right away.
That's right. Boom.
you've already lost that power position. And people always talk about changing positions physically or, verbally in order to get your point across and stuff, because empower yourself. That's what I would say. It's very important. I don't mean to be braggadocious or bold, I mean, empower yourself with tools. You have a lot of tools out there today. I wish I had them when I was getting into business. And do we want to answer some kid asked a question earlier about songs and placement of songs. Yeah. I think he asked me how and what was the first big one for me. And this is an interesting thing because I had already been trying to get into business for 4 years before I got my job. Most people say it's 10 years. When I got my job, I was a racehorse. I went in at 8 a.m. Everybody else, they got in at 10 o'clock, right? I got in at 8 o'clock. By the time I had already finished a pot of coffee, by the time everybody walked in there, I spent every weekend, I studied the catalog with all our writers, this and that. And I pitched songs for months and I had no results. And I thought I was the loser of life. And my boss looked at me one day and he said to me, get out of the office. You're here on the weekends. You're here at nights. Get out of this office. And I thought he was firing me. And he said, no. He said, the best thing I ever did was hire you. He said, but you need a break.
Wow.
You got it. So I brought a couple of cassettes with me. Anyway, when I went for a walk in Central Park, I ran into Clive Davis and I gave him a cassette. And one of them was I Made It Through the Rain. The other one was Every Woman in the World, and another song called American Hearts, right? And those two songs, those two songs, we had to give Barry a portion of the writer's share. He had to co-write it. And Barry's recollection is a little bit different than ours, but, we owned it at Chappell Music. And they were the first two hits that I had. Wow. And they got me a long way because Clive was then on speed dial, and Clive Davis, have him on speed dial at that point when he had Whitney Houston and everybody was major. But the question was about having good ears. Plenty of people have good ears. You have to find your place. We don't always find our place. Yeah, lucky. I got lucky, really lucky. I had the best people to work with in the world, the best boss, everybody encouraging, and I had to overcome whatever my hangups were about myself being good enough, and all this stuff. And, when you don't make it and things don't happen the way you do it, I don't know.
We got 1 minute left. After decades of music, being in the music industry, how do you continue to be inspired? Because you are inspiring. I hear the music underneath your voice as you're talking about this.
I love it.
It's inspiring me.
It's my salvation. For me, if music wasn't here, that's my voice in the morning. That's my voice at night. Take away anybody that I'm in love with or something like that. It's in my soul. I love music. I love art, all that stuff, but music just, it's through my body. It hit me when I was a kid. It's got a juju to it. I don't know what it is, but I never stopped getting surprised by amazing writers and songs. And I'll always be celebrating that, cause it's till the day I die, cause it's really who I am. It's fabric of who I am.
Well, Bob, we got to go. Folks, check out his book, Mentor, Robert Cutarella, and on Amazon,
coming out in November.
Amazon, yeah. And so just check it out. And then also, if you want a one-on-one or know of someone who wants a one-on-one with him about a song, feel free to check it out. Well, see you later, Bob. Thanks so much.
And, Thank you. Next
week, we have a very interesting person by the name of Harry Swain is going to be with us. And Ebity, that's all, folks.
You have just experienced another episode of the Mischef Maker broadcast. Hit the subscribe button. Connect at chiefmischiefmaker.com. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And hopefully, you are now a bit closer to becoming a mischief maker in your part of the world.